So good morning. I have to say it's super windy outside, so I can't mask today my terrible big hair with a cap. So I'll have to just go solo. So yeah, we're doing our second fitness fragrance review of the week. So I've got a good one tomorrow that involves a little bit more planning. So I thought I'd do this one today, and it's a fragrance I've owned loads of times. I mentioned it a few weeks ago because I purchased it about a month ago, I'd probably say. But I want to do a proper review on it today. Essentially, if you haven't seen these before, I do a workout all morning. So I go for a run, walk to the gym, do a gym workout, and I rank this on 5 categories. So the categories would be price, value for money, versatility, projection or performance in general, compliment factor, and then its longevity. How long does it last? Does it survive a shower? All those things, and they'll get a score out of 50, 10 points for each category. Yeah, this one, as I said, I've owned plenty of times. It's essentially 70-80% the same as probably Amen, may even be more than that. I think it's good enough to say this is a clone of Mugler's Amen. Very popular scent, one of my all-time favourites, actually, to be honest with you. So yeah, I wanted to give this a proper review today for anyone that knows Amen. It's not that cheap. It could be £40-60 these days. It seems to be going up and up and up and up, as everything else does, to be honest with you. So yeah, I wanted to give it a review today, and yeah, just share my thoughts. Is it worth buying? If you've got Amen, do you think you need it as well? Or can you just get away with getting this and saving yourself a lot of money? So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to quickly show you the note breakdown, and I'll give you my thoughts. Okay, I was really confused with this. When I looked at the note breakdown, I couldn't work this out at all, because it talks about a very citrusy, sort of fruity opening. Now, I don't really get that. What I get is almost the dry down straight away, really. Very resinous, very sweet woods, essentially. And if you've had Amen, you'll know it's kind of like this musky chocolate, and that's what I get with this. It's much harsher. This is like the rebel younger brother of that phrase. It's certainly not as well rounded. It's not as smooth. This is much rougher, a little bit rebellious. Kind of does what it wants. Doesn't care if it's a bit brash and in your face. So that's kind of what I get from it. I don't really detect any of those. I thought chocolate would be a no, to be honest with you, because whatever it is, it all sort of brings that together. I think amber's definitely part of this, but this is very sweet. This is very sweet. This isn't a fresh fruity fragrance or anything like that. This is a winter scent. And yeah, that's really what I get for it. If you know the smell of Mugler, this is in that ballpark. So yeah, don't look at it as a floral or a fruity fragrance. This is not summer. This is definitely a winter fragrance. So yeah, that's kind of what I get from the note breakdown. In terms of the bottle itself, I don't really like the bottle. What you'll see later is it comes in a tin. You probably saw it actually. Well, you might see it in the picture later on. It comes in a tin, and then it sort of has this sort of cover on it. I don't really like this bottle. I've had a few issues with the atomizer as well over the years. So this one's absolutely fine. But yeah, the bottle shape's really weird. It's long, sort of rectangular and thin. It's hard to hold. So yeah, it's a little bit like those Gucci bottles. It looks like it's a bodybuilder, really. Tiny head, big muscles. But yeah, all sort of out of proportion. But yeah, again, to me, that doesn't really matter. What's inside counts. But if that does matter to you, then yeah, that's a little sticker as well, by the way. You can peel that sticker off. So it's not particularly expensively made, but it's a cheap fragrance, and we'll talk about that during my run. So yeah, let's get out there before the rain comes. It's going to be a little bit wet today, so we better get on with it. It's so windy this morning. I'm trying to find a place where I can start clicking record. But anyway, price value for money. So you would have seen, I recommend buying this on eBay first of all. And the reason I say that, you can get it under £10 in most places. Not all sort of discount websites do sell them, but obviously you normally have to pay like £3 postage unless you get a few fragrances. This is kind of one that you just add to your basket at the end to get free delivery. But yeah, under £10, is that good value for money? Well, I've bought this multiple times, and I've tended to buy it either because I want the Amen vibe, or I've got Amen and I want to throw this in my car or something at work so I can top up. So I think the first thing you've got to say, the quality of the scent, this is probably one of the most synthetic I've got. There's nothing natural about this, and I think a lot of people will almost, and if you look on fragrances and stuff, a lot of people don't like it. They say it's like a
a room spray, like chemical meth toilet cleaner I've seen. I don't think it is. However, it is extremely cloying and very... I can see why some people sit that side of the fence, and then you'll get obviously the other people on the other side of the fence will say, brilliant cheap Amen clone. What I would say is, in the air, this smells a lot more expensive than £10. If you just catch a whiff of it, great. If you're surrounded by this for 3-4 hours, you're going to find it a bit sickly, a bit too synthetic. So what I'm really trying to say is you're kind of getting what you pay for. You're not getting something that's high quality. You're not getting a really quality bottle. It's not clean. It's much more of a winter fragrance. So I always think when you're going winter fragrances that are cheap, you normally expect them to be a bit more harsh, a bit more chemically. And it's not overly well blended. So that's what I would say with that. So all those things considered, I'm going to give this a 7.5 made for money. I think a lot of people are going to go, this smells cheap, this is cheap. But as long as you're aware of that, and as long as you appreciate you are paying cheap prices for this, it just does the job. It's a cheap winter scent. It can just be thrown in the car. You don't have to worry about it. And yeah, from my experience, that's absolutely fine. It does more than enough for me. So I'm going to give a price and value for money 7.5. It does what it says on the tin, literally, because it is in a tin. See how windy it is. My hood's blowing up. Right, versatility. So how adaptable is this fragrance? Well, let's start with ages. Like I was saying earlier, this is kind of like Amen brash younger brother. This is a juvenile, so this is very much a sweet fragrance for the first time. But I just want something a little bit playful. I think that's what it is. It's quite playful. So a younger person just doesn't want the traditional 1 million type sentiment, so a bit different, a bit cheaper. Yeah, this will do the job. I think for an older person, again, over sort of, certainly over 50, it just isn't refined enough. And it's just, it's so sort of harsh around the edges. It just smells like a younger person, to be honest with you. I think the cedar in this, though, is certainly the problem. Now I've been wearing it a bit more, that's what I can detect. However, in terms of, obviously, it's marketed towards men, but I'm going to say, I don't think a younger girl can pull this off, someone under 30. If you want those milky chocolate vibes, and this is like not as chocolatey as the original sort of Amen, it hasn't got that earthy patchouli in it. And I've obviously said, I'm going to contradict myself here, I don't detect those fruity opening notes like the blackcurrant, the lemon, or the jasmine, or lavender, whatever those notes are in it. But maybe that's what's making this, that slightly lighter, sweeter version of Amen. And because it's light and sweet, I think that can be pulled off by a younger woman, that's for sure. But it's definitely more masculine. I think it's got this sort of tobacco-y amber vibe to it, which pushes it towards that masculine side. But again, I think it's fine for a date night. Again, if you're a younger person, I would say it's not one of those sort of cosy night in date night fragrances. This is one if you're going out of town, maybe a restaurant, cinema, where you're going to catch the odd waft of this. I think where it is cheap and chemically in its smell, in its scent, it's going to be too much if you're kind of watching Netflix under a blanket. But in terms of season, this is definitely winter. This is a frosty day. This is, when you just want something a little bit comforting, a bit warm, you've got hot chocolate, a coffee at home, and you just want to wrap yourself up and feel warm. That's what this does. It's not a gym scent, it's too cloying for that sort of thing. It's not nice for a summer's day. It can get very, very overpowering on your nostrils. I've found that myself, and sometimes by the end of the bottle, that's how I feel, And for that reason, that's where it gets maybe knocked down on versatility. It's not meant to be that. I think sometimes you've always got to remember that. So for that reason, we'll give it a 7.5. It does exactly the job again. It says on the tin, and for that reason, I think that's absolutely fair enough. But if you wanted something that does all the jobs, just one to do everything. This isn't it for me. You'll want something certainly a little bit more fresher, a bit sweeter, but a bit lighter. Anyway, it's very windy as you can tell. Let's get this run done. I think I'm going to avoid the rain, that's the main thing. Five minutes away and it's just started raining. Don't speak too soon, Harry. It's chucking it down.
Okay, it looks really dark. It's at the middle of the night. I'll spray my arms quickly before I do. Let's do an extra couple. A room spray test. So I'm going to spray my room now, and then I'm going to go have my coffee, and then 10 minutes time we'll come back upstairs and see how much this has filled out my room. So performance and projection during my run. As I said, when it's windy, things tend to project really well. So did it do as well as I thought? Probably not. I have to say I was quite surprised. I smelt it kind of for the first couple of minutes during my run as I was running down a cycle lane. As I started doing my sort of bits on price and versatility and all that, didn't smell it again. Didn't smell it even when I finished my run. Now, of course, other distractions, the rain, things like that. But just from my experience, this is about the third or fourth time I've owned this. This is one of those phrases, for the first hour, it is nuclear strong. And again, a little bit like a cliff edge, it just drops off. And you're going to have to reapply it through the day. That's what I've found. That's why I've always essentially used it as a bit of a top-up spray if I had amen, and just taken this one to work. But yeah, in terms of projection, a monster for the first hour. And where I've sprayed my arms as I've come downstairs, it's super strong, super, super strong. So I'm really interested to know if the longevity will hold up today when I score it later on. But in terms of projection, for the first hour, you're going to get compliments. I genuinely believe people will mention it and notice it if they like it. It's just not going to last you for a whole day. So with all things considered, so far, I'd probably say it's about a 7 out of 10. If the room spray can go up, then we might give it a bit more. 6, 7 out of 10 is my current ballpark, but we'll judge it on that in a minute. Go. So can it improve on 6 or 7 out of 10? That's my current sort of estimate for a projection. Next time when I go upstairs, ran actually quite well today. Hoping there's some blue sky, hoping I'll be able to walk to the gym and then talk about compliment factor, but in we go. Has it filled up my room? It's there, definitely. Now, this is sort of 10 minutes that's gone by. I think in half an hour this is gone. I think 20 minutes it's still there just very faintly. It's definitely there. It's not filled the room, it's kind of scented the room very vaguely. Someone might pick up on it. I don't think many people would particularly mention it though. Certainly if it was a bigger room than this isn't a massive room. So based on that, and based on the fact I couldn't really smell it on my run, I think 6 out of 10 rather than 7. This is going to have to be reapplied. But that first hour, that initial blast, because it's quite synthetic, it's going to get noticed. You quickly, like someone's coming, spray, 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 spray. And then someone walks by, they're going to mention it. I'm pretty confident on that. Or someone will in the length you've had that 90ml bottle. But after an hour or two, you do well to get any sort of compliments on this. So that's my opinion on it so far. I don't think it's a strong projector. Those harsh chemicals do wear off quite quickly, but yeah, it's certainly there, and those sort of resonance notes do stick. They're the thing that you really notice. But yeah, again, kind of probably get what you pay for, I'd say, for this sort of performance. But yeah, let's talk about compliment factor when I head to the gym, because I actually have got some experiences with this one rather than just guessing if it's a compliment factor. I actually have some experiences which I'll mention. Isn't this ridiculous? The sun's come out now, it's lovely. It's going to rain the rest of the day though, so let's get this workout done quickly. Anyway, compliment factor. So I've had 2 real ones that I remember from Cuba Prestige Classic. So the first one is, again, I mentioned this a lot, I used to spray it in my car on my lunch break when I was a sports coach. Remember I was crossing the road once, and one of the boys I knew, probably about 12, 13, he said, "Harry, I can smell you from across the road."
definitely you. That's what he said. He was with his friend. He said, I can smell you over here. And I had to be honest with you, I had sprayed a lot. I probably sprayed about 30 because it was the end of the bottle. So I chucked it in the bin at that time. But again, it goes back to what I was saying. In that first initial 20, 30 minutes, it's nuclear strong. It's nuclear strong. And then when I changed into a more office-based role, back in school, I remember putting on the spray again, because it's quite a thin bottle. I don't like the bottle because it's quite thin. It sort of slides into a pocket quite well. I put it on, sat down with a couple of the people I worked with, and then one of the ladies who I also worked with, she came over and said, "Oh, it smells really nice over here. It smells like caramel." And before I'd said anything, because obviously you don't really want to make a point, you don't want to go, "Oh, that's me." One of the people sitting next to me said, "Oh yeah, that's Harry. It's really nice, isn't it?" She'd never mentioned it, that one who said it was me, but the lady who came over did, and it made me realise that the 2 or 3 people who were around me had noticed it, but obviously, and they liked it, but obviously it just shows some people are more prepared to say that's really nice than other people. But it made me realise that actually this fragrance is being noticed, and people are saying good things about it. So yeah, I've had a couple of good compliments on that one, and I'm pretty certain it's, like I said, I don't expect any at the gym today, especially because I haven't reapplied. I expect it won't smell particularly strong now, but I do know for a fact if you're wearing it in the winter and you've had it on a lunch break, that's when it certainly does its job. So the compliment factor for that reason, and because I quite like the fact it's quite playful, I'm going to give it an 8. I'm only mark it down just because of its longevity, but I think this will get compliments in the air. If you pass it by someone, it will leave a good impression. As I always say, if I do get a compliment at the gym today, we will give the fragrance 10 out of 10 for compliment factor. But I just wanted to know, I didn't mention it earlier, you get this bottle in 90ml. It can be a little bit annoying at times. I always just get out to 100ml. But have you ever had any weird sort of volumes of bottle or perfume about? I had 55ml for Milton Lloyd's, etc., which I reviewed the other week. I've got a 300ml bottle of the Granado, which is, I believe, a Brazilian company, the Neroli fragrance, which I'm still working through. I almost bought a 1000ml one to pack a Rabanne pour on that I found on the website before I realised that's ridiculous. But I'm just one of those people that thinks you should just have 20, 30, 50, 75, 100, 150, and 200, and that covers all bases. When it's like 90ml, I always think you're conning us. And then I suppose 55ml, I always think, oh, we'll get 5ml more juice. So it's silly, really. But yeah, tell me if there's any sort of weird volumes of fragrances you've had, or what your opinion is on how many millilitres is an optimum amount. I think 100ml. I like to spray a lot, as you can probably tell. So yeah, I'm quite happy to waste a few sprays if I've got quite a lot of juice. Anyway, we're at the gym now. Let's get on. But I did notice it today, actually more than I thought. A couple of times I could smell it on myself, even after a couple of hours. Of course, though, it's time for the shower test to see if it lasts long enough. Just leaving the gym now. It's 10 to 12, so it's 3 hours ago since I applied this fragrance. I don't know if you can tell, my glasses are absolutely filthy from rainwater and sweat and everything. Anyway, let's see how it smells in terms of longevity. See, I'm really surprised. I can smell that pretty well. But funnily enough, it smells a lot more citrusy now. I can still get the Amen vibe, but I'm starting to get that kind of lighter citrus scent that maybe I didn't appreciate originally. I think that's just where it's mixed with the sweat and water from the shower and just skin chemistry in general. But yeah, that's quite... It's over 50% as strong as it was a few hours ago, so that's definitely better than what I've read on terms of reviews. That being said, I think it would very much be a skin scent now, even if I haven't been doing any sort of workouts or anything like that. So this is tough. It certainly wouldn't be projecting it. So I'm going to say, because it's kind of 50-60% there, I don't think anyone would notice it, and you probably still want to reapply by the end of the day. I'm going to give it a 7. It's surprised me in a good way, and it's become a lot lighter. I just think that's where it's mixed with water and sweat and stuff. But yeah, that's very pleasant. It's still very wearable for me anyway. Even though it's a hot day, I still think it's something that I still enjoy. It's not become too cloying. That's what I'm trying to say. If you know that vibe of scent, you know that Amen scent, yeah, it's going to do the job, and it's a fraction of the price, isn't it? So yeah, 7 out of 10. Well done, Cuba. Right, time to head home, have some lunch, and then I'll sort of do an overall score and yeah, just my final thoughts. We are back home. I've done 35,700 steps and nearly 36,000 steps, all while wearing Cuba Prestige Classic. So yeah, what the total score, first of all, was 36 out of 50. So again, over 70%, which is a great total. Now again, I always struggle to sort of recommend fragrances at times because I always think it's important to try it because it's so subjective, and what you like is not something that everyone else may necessarily like. I would say I'm pretty confident saying if you know the scent of Amen, this is a great fragrance. This will definitely give you that Amen vibe. If you like that sweet sort of milky chocolate scent, absolutely fine to blind buy. It's cheap. It's not going to break the bank. So even if you don't like it, you can always send it to me. As I always say, I'd happily take it off your hands if you do get it. But yeah, I think for anyone else, if you're not sure about that sort of vibe, definitely just try it first. Again, it's not something you can really try in a shop. I think a shop called Beauty Base, I've definitely been to in London, in Westfield Shopping Centre. I believe it's had this in here before. So you can go and try this in different places, but it's hard to find. So you might have to blind buy it if you're not sure. But yeah, it's quite synthetic. It's certainly one of those that hasn't got the best longevity in the world, but it certainly does project in that first hour, and you will get confidence for that. So if you're just looking for a nice entry level, cheap, sweet, juvenile, playful fragrance, I think this is a great one. For me, it's always going to be one of those that I basically put in my bag and top up through the day, particularly in the winter, in those cold sort of mornings. If I want something a little bit cozier, a little bit sweet to make me feel a bit warmer, this will do that. And yeah, it's about the fourth or fifth time I've bought it. So with all the fragrances I've had over the years, the fact I've kept coming back to this one as one of my favourite cheapies, I think that says a lot, and I think that's reflected in the score. It's only marked down just really because I think it is quite synthetic, and I can see why it does offend some people. But yeah, still a great total, still a fragrance I recommend. It's not really changed in terms of price and availability online. It's still very good. So yeah, I recommend it. But yeah, just be aware of those sort of synthetic notes when it is such a cheap fragrance, but it does what it says on the tin. Hope you've enjoyed this one today. Have got a very interesting sort of fragrance game coming, a different concept hopefully to do tomorrow as well. So hopefully you'll join me for that. You'll need your thinking caps for it. I certainly need to put mine on as well. But yeah, thanks for watching today. I'll catch you later.